Welcome back to the channel, everyone. My name is Saucy Mike, and today we're going to be seasoning a steak with some coffee. Now, if you live under a rock and do not know what coffee is whenever you take these little beans and you roast them, and they have some caffeine in them, and depending on how much it gets roasted and what they flavor it with, it just tastes so good. Now we're going to be using some of this Jack Daniel's Tennessee whiskey coffee. It's said to be roasted in small batches for the freshness and quality, and then after it's roasted, it is infused with some Jack Daniel's whiskey to give it some bold character and a smooth finish. Now, as you know, coffee has a bitter flavor, but I want to see if we can make that bitter flavor taste delicious, because I know that bitter tastes good whenever you're talking about dark chocolate. Also, some of that char, whenever you get it on the steak, that tastes delicious. The char from a pizza crust, whenever you're cooking it in a wood fire oven, I know that it just tastes delicious. So I want to see if we can make this steak taste good with some coffee. The steak of choice for today, we're using this 2-inch thick cut of ribeye. The first thing that I want to do with this steak is get it nice and tight with some butcher's twine. So we're going to go ahead and lay out some string, pull this twine together nice and tight, and you're going to see here that as I'm pulling, it kind of comes together. If I were to cook this on the stove or in the oven or whatever, it would just kind of fall apart. So we're going to go ahead and tie this nice and tight and then make sure that it stays together. Then once we got our knots, we're going to go ahead and snip these like that. And you can see we have a beautiful cut of beef right here. We got that center cut that has a bunch of marbling there. And then you have the spinalis muscle. That is so tender. It's probably one of my favorite bites of the ribeye. But yeah, so we're going to go ahead and get this seasoned up. But first, I got to show you how to make the seasoning. Our seasoning is super simple, but very flavorful. First, we're going to add 3 tablespoons of our Jack Daniel's whiskey coffee, 2 tablespoons of some black pepper, 1 tablespoon of some garlic powder, 1 tablespoon of brown sugar, about 1 teaspoon of some chipotle chili powder, and about 1 tablespoon of salt. Once you have that, we're going to go ahead and mix this together. Make sure everything is nice and combined. You want to make sure that you're breaking up this brown sugar so that way it mixes evenly with your rub. And that's all we're going to be doing for our seasoning. And then we're just going to take this rub and we're going to start to season our steak. You want to make sure that this gets covered entirely. Once you have it on there, go ahead and press it down. Like I said in my last video, with your rubs, I know they're called rubs, but you never want to actually rub the seasoning on there. It gives a weird texture on the outside. You just kind of want to pat it in there. We're going to make sure we get all these edges covered. This is a thick cut of meat, so we want to make sure that every bit gets covered nice and flavored. And then what you can do is you can use that seasoning that fell off and you can kind of mop up the area, make sure that everything gets flavored. Grabbing my knot, where'd it go? Now, after you've seasoned it, we're gonna go ahead and let this sit for about 10 to 15 minutes to kind of let some of those seasonings to penetrate this steak. We're gonna be getting our smoker heated up. We're gonna be smoking this at 300 degrees, and we wanna make sure that it gets to a nice medium rare on the inside. In order to do that, we're gonna be using one of my thermometers here. It's a Bluetooth thermometer that connects to our phone. So 300 degrees until it reaches about 125 to 130, kind of like in that area. And to use this thermometer, super easy. Just put it right there about in the middle of our steak. And then we're going to go into our app, and you can see that it has an internal of 55 right now. We did let it sit out and kind of get to that room temperature a little bit. And then we're going to go make sure we have our ambient set high alarm. You know, we don't want it going over, let's say about 325. And our low alarm, we don't want this hitting anywhere below 250. So we're going to save that. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and set the target temperature. So we're going to go to profile. Now, like I said before, we want this to be medium rare. It says that medium rare is 140. That's not even close. So we're going to stick to that rare 125. 125 to 130. That's that sweet spot for medium rare. So we're going to go ahead and click OK. 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 Continue. And then we're done. We're going to let this sit for another 5 or so minutes here. And we're going to get this put in the smoker. All right, it's been about 10 to 15 minutes. We're gonna go ahead and get this in the smoker. Like I said before, 300 degrees. We're gonna check on this and see how it's doing in about an hour, see if we're getting a nice crust on the outside. And then like I said before, we're gonna be monitoring the internal temperature with that Temp Strike app. So we're gonna go ahead and get this on the smoker. All right, so our steak is done. It's reached an internal temperature of 126. It took about an hour and a half or so to get it there. We're gonna let this rest for about 10 or 15 minutes to kind of let some of those juices reabsorb back into the steak. Then we're gonna slice into it and see how we did. All right, so it's been about 10 minutes of letting it rest. We're gonna go ahead and slice into it, see how we did on our cook, and see if this coffee is worth trying on your next steak. So if you remember in the beginning, we went ahead and tied it nice and tight. So we're gonna snip off our line, pull that off, and we're gonna pull out our thermometer. And you wanna make these slices nice and thick. You don't want them to be too thin. Otherwise, your steak is gonna get really cold really fast. So we're gonna go ahead and slice these about, I'd say about ½ inch thick. That'd be a good slice for you to go for. All right, so we got this all nice and sliced up. I'm gonna show the camera here. You can see that we did a pretty good job with this cook. I know it looks a little bit gray right here and pink up at the top. That's just from the way I had it land, but you can see really that this thing, it's juicy, it's medium rare. Let's go ahead and see how it tastes. I'm gonna go ahead and get a piece from that spinalis muscle up here. Tender as all can be. Let's see how it tastes. No, that's absolutely delicious. I know we'd seasoned it with coffee, but whenever I'm eating this, it tastes just like I'm sipping a nice, fresh brewed pot of coffee in the morning. That Tennessee whiskey coffee is absolutely delicious, and paired with this steak, it's even better. I'd say there's not necessarily a smoke flavor. I think just because we're smoking it at a higher temperature than we smoked our ribs last time, and our fuel was burning off faster than the smoke would penetrate this meat. But this is absolutely delicious, and I would definitely recommend it. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, let me know by leaving a thumbs up down below. If you have any requests for anything you want to see me make, just mention it down in the comment section below. I love you all so much, and I will see you in the next one. Stay saucy.